Oh, okay. I was just wondering if you could have multiple shares, then it would be one way that you could like switch between clips, maybe easier. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
So you could like queue a clip up, but have it on a share screen that you're not sharing yet or something. I'm not sure if that's a possibility or not.
I don't know. We'll have to experiment with it. But
Yeah.
we are live, and
Woo!
and it's almost 6:30. As soon as this thing goes beep, I'm hitting play, and everybody's listening.
Okay, keep it clean.
Keep it clean. Any second now. Maybe I should have waited that extra second. Here we go.
Boom!
And when they went to the queen to tell her subjects had no bread, do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people.
Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode. Stop. Peasants Perspective. Still not AI. AI would have cleanly cut the intro out. Good morning, everybody. Hey, just starting off the show. Well, actually, I'm not even going to say it until there's more people that join in. But we need people to go into the live chat on Rumble. We've still got to meet our goal. Still a little bit short. All right, Ron.
Oh, well.
Something that I know you're going to be very, very happy about.
Okay.
And I mean, you're going to be happy. You got to check this out.
Don't make me laugh too hard. I woke my wife up.
The Office of Air and Radiation. Subject clarification on vents in portable fuel containers under FAA EPA regulations. Okay, this is gas cans. This is why I would have suspect if Trump would have run on this alone could have probably brought some votes out. Okay. This is what it says. U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, is writing to clarify our evaporative emissions regulations for portable fuel containers, PFCs, or gas cans, and to encourage manufacturers to produce cans that meet consumer needs, including by offering cans with vents to facilitate fast and smooth fuel flow. Since EPA's evaporative emissions standards for PFCs went into effect in 2009, we've heard concerns from consumers, retailers, and elected officials about the performance of newer gas cans. One of the most common complaints is slow fuel flow. Some of these concerns appear to be from confusion about the intent and scope of EPA's regulation in reviewing the range of PFCs on the market today. EPA notes that only a small number include a separate vent to support smooth and fast delivery of fuel. Without a vent, PFCs must self-vent through the spout, which we believe may explain why consumer complaints related to slow dispensing of fuels from modern gas cans. We further understand some manufacturers may inaccurately believe, this is so important, I'm reading the whole thing, may believe EPA's 2009 evaporative emissions standards for PFCs preclude the use of vents. To be clear, EPA's regulations do not prohibit the inclusion of vents in PFCs. The agency's rules explicitly show vented containers provide that vents are designed to automatically close when not in use, without requiring any action from the user. For example, a manufacturer may have a push-button operated vent with spring closure that will meet EPA's evaporative standards and provide active venting to improve fuel flow when dispensing gasoline. Especially EPA's 2007 rule, whatever the code is, manufacturers are allowed to design PFCs with vents provided that the venting device is in place during emission testing and that the venting device closes automatically when not in use without requiring any action from the users. Venting improves the usability of gas cans by allowing for smoother and faster fuel flows, addressing one of the most common consumer complaints. Ron, our gas cans are finally going to flow again.
I was going to say I have an opinion about this, but I'm not sure how it fits in with the show.
What's the opinion?
Oh, man. I have a tractor that I have to fill regularly with 2 cans of diesel, and the freaking vents on those things are so freaking lame. that the flow is so slow that I have to sit there to fill that freaking thing up for at least 10 minutes. It's like glug,
Drip,
glug,
drip.
glug, 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 glug for freaking ever. And I have to hold it in place while it's doing that. It's a pain in the ass.
And you spill all over the place because you start
No, I don't.
shaking the can to try to get it to come out.
Yeah, I don't really do that because I'm kind of a pragmatic guy where I just, when it finished dumping, I just quit, plug
You just
flow.
you just leave the extra little bit in the bottom of the can.
Yeah,
Dude,
I do.
I remember watching it's like the Gold Rush ice dredging or whatever, right? When they were up in Nome, Alaska dredging. This is an old Discovery Channel show. And I
Yeah.
remember the guy from Louisiana that had a dredge that was out there. He was like trying to fill his kicker motors with this gas can, and it's like he's hanging over the back of the boat in the Bering Sea, and he's trying to fill it. And the whole time he's cursing GDFMF federal regulations. GDFMF federal regulations as he's
Yeah,
spilling
yeah,
all over the place trying to hold the little
yeah.
closure cap,
Jeez. So I
Oh,
don't know how that fits in with the show, but you can tell me.
I'm telling you, we have arrived. They're fixing the gas cans. Like they're fixing real
Oh,
life
okay.
problems. They're not just
They're actually
auditing the
fixing a
Fed. They're
they're
not just
actually
going
fixing a
after
real
elite
world problem.
pedophile rings. They're actually going to give us gasoline flow back. Like it's just amazing.
So a real world problem is being
A
solved
real world problem is being solved. Yes.
for
Which we
once.
haven't seen a real world problem be solved since the last time Trump was in office. Anyways, I just thought that
Okay,
was
it
like
fits.
I just thought that was like the funniest thing. John Takis, when I search for old gas cans, I imagine what it is like to purchase illegal contraband.
Hey, don't be searching for those things. They'll track that.
Yeah, they've probably got RFID chips in it. Seriously. We the boys, good
No, I
morning.
just mean the online. They're just gonna be tracking you and putting you into class.
Yeah. I cherish my old red gas cans with a simple black nozzle. Yeah, and a nail hole in the back. We the boys, we need to do the clip calls in your Alex Jones voice. The clip calls. Oh yeah. Play play clip 9. Go. All right, let's go. Okay, so ooh, this one jumped up early. I didn't mean to do that one in front. Okay, so I found this interesting little video, and I wanted to show this to you guys. This there's 2 videos I want to play, and this goes along with the system's broken theme that we're always pointing out. This is the judicial system. So the judicial system first and foremost starts with the executive branch because you got, let's say it's a traffic stop, you get pulled over, you're going to get a ticket, and then you go to the judicial branch for adjudication. But the executive branch and the judicial branch in this scenario kind of work hand in glove. I mean, it's kind of a weird situation. So this was, I don't even know where this is at. It doesn't even matter. But there was a pretty simple pullover, and I'm going to play a little bit, and then I'm going to fast forward because we don't need to watch this whole clip, but it is a fascinating little clip. So here we go.
Driving around with a broken taillight.
Yeah, after you broke it.
Why are you dressed like that? Why are you wearing a robe?
Surprise. Judge.
Use of power meets someone who actually knows the law. How do you think that is? On April 21st, 2025, an officer from Wayibaji Island spotted a BMW ahead, moving unusually slow. Instead of just passing it, he initiated a traffic stop.
Hey, good morning.
It's a nice car.
Oh, yeah, well, in 2025, women can drive nice cars,
And this is your car?
Yes, officer, it is.
What are you doing in this neighborhood? You live in this neighborhood. And this is your car.
Surprise.
Yes, in 2025, a black man driving a BMW shouldn't be suspicious at all. But apparently to this officer, it was.
I said I work in this neighborhood. Why is that?
It's not adding up.
It's not adding up. What are you adding up?
Are there any firearms, illegal contraband, drugs in this vehicle I need to be made aware of?
That would be a no.
Well, you hesitated.
Because...
You sure about that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Well, you were driving very suspiciously. That's why I pulled you over. The speed limit's 35 and you were doing 30. So that makes me question a lot.
I was like, you got slowed down to brake. break or maybe make a turn or something suspicious.
I think he saw me and got nervous.
His reason for the stop? Not speeding, but driving too slowly. Yep, apparently, slow driving is now suspicious behavior. The woman remained calm, even smiled during the interaction, but the officer clearly had no real reason to detain her. Eventually, he remembered protocol and asked for her ID and registration.
If you're hiding something, obviously. License and registration, please.
Okay.
Okay, so he continues on.
License.
He ends up giving her a ticket for going too slow.
There's your citation.
A citation for?
I just told you.
So you gave me
Reckless driving, endangering those around you. You're going too slow.
5 miles.
Oh boy.
Than the, okay. And I endangered people?
When the woman received the ticket, even her calm demeanor started to crack. She questioned the officer's professionalism and judgment, and that was the line that set him off.
You know, power doesn't come in a uniform. It really comes from what you know.
That's an interesting statement, ma'am. And what I do know is I have not searched this entire vehicle.
With no real offense to charge her with, he made one up. He subtly covered his body cam, pulled out his baton, and smashed the woman's taillight.
Hey!
You have a broken taillight, ma'am. That's another citation.
What are you doing?
But as soon as the woman stepped out of the car, the officer's confidence started to fade. Her clothing, especially the long black robe, looked oddly familiar. And then she spoke. Her tone, her words, and her calm but commanding presence made one thing very clear.
You know what? Intentional damage, intentional property damage is a misdemeanor. You want me to read you the statute?
Why are you dressed like that? Why are you wearing a robe?
Surprise. Judge.
I'm not a judge. I'm a police officer.
Not you. Me. How about that?
You're a judge.
No, I just wearing this robe because I have nothing else to do.
Well, you don't act like a judge, and you definitely don't look like a judge.
Yeah, what do they look like?
Not you.
Oh, not me? What do they look like? I don't look like a judge? Well, guess what? I am one, and I'm on my way to work now. But you know what? I've sentenced more men with better discipline than you. You'll be standing when I walk in court. Surprise.
Ma'am, why didn't you just lead with telling me that you were a judge? All you had to do was tell me you were a judge.
I didn't have to tell you nothing. You treat every citizen with respect.
Dude.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, the whole stereotype of breaking a taillight and creating a search warrant. He did it to a judge on body camera. Like, he didn't even get the body camera off. He just covered it up and smacked it. Like, hello.
I like the part where he's like, "You don't look like a judge." I'm like, "What?"
Based on what? My Jerry curls?
Yeah.
Okay. So I played that because it's like, again, you know, cops are fine. They're doing their job. That's a little weird. Okay, so here's the other end of the equation. This is once you get into the judicial branch. So imagine a scenario, right, where you end up getting your taillight bashed in, and that creates an argument. And next thing you know, you're down in the ground and you're being detained and arrested and charged. Okay, so this is a gentleman. I have no idea what his charges are. Obviously, going through the prison system, I met a lot of people, heard a lot of people's stories about how they got caught, what they were charged with, what their pretrial situation was, what the trial situation was. I was shared a cell with the guy who was a espionage, you know, a Russian spy, that he'd been over 3 years. Over 3 years he'd been in trial, and he'd only talked to his attorney twice. 3 years he'd been sitting in pretrial detention, only talked to his attorney twice. Okay, so this happens all the time. So what we're about to play here is not an unusual situation. This judge, I think, is like picking up on it. But think about the fact that 2 years have gone on with this gentleman going through what he's going through.
Oh, I've seen this. It's good.
You want to represent yourself?
Yes, sir. I don't trust y'all to appoint me counsel. Like, my rights have been violated continually over and over again. Like, I wrote requests trying to remove John West from I haven't seen anything against me, no evidence, no nothing. Like, I just been sitting in this county jail for 2 years with medical issues and stuff.
How many times would you say Mr. West came to see you?
He came to see me one time at the jail. That's because my family made him come and see me. He never came to see me at all.
Hold on.
He brought no case file.
Wait, hold on. How long were you in jail? Now?
I had been in jail for about a year.
1 year?
When he came to see me for the first time. He came to see me up here, but he told me flat out he can't talk to me about my case. Like, I haven't seen nothing against me at all. Like, I've been trying to come see you. I've been requesting hearings. My dad's called the court coordinator requesting hearings to get motions out, file ruled on. I've just been denied and I have the right to be present in the courtroom. And I guess part of due process, confirmation clause.
No, that's not what that says, sir. That's not what I've written a lot of articles on the Constitution, and it's not a debate on the Constitution right now.
John West did inform me that he became aware of a conflict because he represented a co-defendant in the case, so that also might be a reason as to why.
When was John West appointed, though?
He was appointed to me in June of 2023.
We're going on 2 years. And he's only talked to you one time?
One time.
When did you get appointed?
2 weeks ago. Yeah, she's been on the
Well,
case less than a month.
Okay, yeah, well, the thing, what is bothering me is why I wasn't told that he had only been, he had only, for 2 years, he's only seen him one time?
There was an issue with co-defendants.
Well,
I'm not sure how
that doesn't stop somebody from representing. I mean, if they don't see him, they're not representing.
Well, if it's a co-defendant judge, he can't legally talk to him.
I told him.
Yeah, but somebody can walk up to me and tell me about it. I mean, if that's a problem with that, y'all, but I mean, he's only been seen one time in 2 years by a lawyer.
I have no evidence against me. All I've seen is my indictments.
Nobody's,
Judge, at a certain point, I don't mean to interrupt, at a certain point,
I
you
don't.
Lewis as his attorney as well.
Huh?
And he had more.
Yeah.
So imagine yourself getting a bogus charge, broken tail light, right? Something, drugs, who knows, right? Bogus charge. Right. And you're like, okay, I want my day in court. And they let you languish for 2 years and you can't get a hold of a public defender. They're not coming to talk to you. And public defenders is kind of notorious for doing that. Again, personal experience. I've mentioned Earl here on the show. He called in one time while we were live on air and I broke all the rules possible for him and put him live on air, right? Well, Earl had spent 43 months in pretrial detention. That's how I met him in Missouri. He was being tested for competency. His public defender would never take his calls, would never do anything. And then he would say things like, oh, I'm going to file a motion, wouldn't give Earl a copy of the motion, and he'd file the motion. And it wasn't what Earl wanted. It was his defense attorney that said, Judge, he might not be, when he tried to fire his attorney because he couldn't get representation. He'd been a year and a half in custody, year and a half, long time for just being charged, right? With a very simple 111A. So, and he got 111A and B, but either way, it was very simple. There was no contact or anything. So, and the judge admitted this. It was all on the record. I was more familiar with his case than any other inmate because I actually went through his paperwork with him. And so he's in pretrial. He tries to fire his attorney because he's like, I want to make bond. I want to see the evidence against me. I want to like something. So he goes to fire his attorney. His attorney files a motion saying, Judge, he's asked to fire me, but maybe before he fires me, why don't we see if he's even competent to stand trial? So that triggers off a competency hearing, which drags him out to Missouri into the federal in where I was at. And he sat there for almost 2 years, right? Or more. I don't know. He was there for a long time. And he's totally a normal dude. Right. And he's there. They diagnosed him with schizophrenia at one point. And what was happening was he was trying to explain, I can't get a hold of my attorney, blah, blah, blah. But to people who don't understand, they think it's incredulous. Your attorney's doing his job. Stop complaining about your attorney. Stop talking about your case. I just want to talk about your feelings and your emotions. It's like, I feel like I'm a bull inside of a pen. You know what I mean? I really would like some assistance here. Would somebody please help me out? So, I was with him and I'm reviewing stuff and I was like, oh man, I'm going to have to help. So we started writing letters. I started assisting him writing letters to his judge, CCing everybody because he was getting no relief. I would watch him go call the attorney and just get put off day after day after day. And finally, when he'd talk to him, he'd get a couple minutes with him and they'd be like, oh, I'm going to do something. So at one point we're like, basically in the letters, we're saying, every right you can possibly think of has been violated. All the different time frames on how long things are supposed to take. 28 days from the order for competency, you're supposed to have your assessment and a report back to the judge. Well, he's going on 8 months before he even meets with a psychologist because they've got to transport him around the country. And so it's like everything's delayed, and then the report's delayed because the psychiatrist goes on vacation and blah, blah, blah. It's just thing after thing after thing. And it was so much that you're almost like, where do you start? Right? Because it's like, where's the original problem that we can go back? And then how do you address the additional harms that have been caused along the way? So finally, he gets to a spot where through these letters, he's like still trying to fire the attorney. So he finally gets a hold of the paralegal, and he's like, I want to do a motion to dismiss. We need to do this. So they agree to do a motion to dismiss. And what had happened, so they agreed to do a motion to dismiss. So they still don't send them a copy of it before they send it in. So they send it in, and then we pull it off the legal library, off LexisNexis in the law library. And it was a motion to dismiss was one of the recommended orders, or if not dismiss, to order him to be force medicated to stand trial. First time he'd heard that. He thought he was avoiding all of that, right? And so then we keep writing letters, and he's like, I'm not doing that. I'll fight him, take it to appeals. So then he gets an appeals attorney assigned, which again was another really weird, like, who's the appeals attorney, who I'm talking to. He never talked to him, but he was able to talk to a paralegal, right? They ended up filing a motion to reject the order of the forced medication. Basically, they were going to give him lithium and give him a chemical lobotomy so he could sit quietly while he stood trial, right? So then a couple days before the appeal was to be granted. Now, keep in mind, if they granted the appeal, or if they granted the appeal to stop the forced medication, that would then kind of expose all of the violations that we were able to kind of get on the record through our letters that had happened. So he gets a call. The psychologist at the prison comes and tells him, and this is all I'm now finding out over the phone because this was happening after I left, and because I wasn't writing letters. So that's why he got the appeals attorney and stuff. Anyways, so then he's like, they're like, oh, hey, you're going home. What do you mean I'm going home? He said, you're going home. They're going to dismiss your case. Okay, so it took him about a month to get him out of Missouri to Oklahoma, back to New Mexico where he's from, spent about a week in there, and then they processed him out and literally just opened the doors and let him go. He still does not have a driver's license, no ID. Can't get it. Right? He can't get it. No bank account, no home, no nothing. He's been 43 months, almost 4 years down in prison, and they just dismissed and dropped all the charges.
And then dumped him on the street.
Poof! And he's free. He's out. Like,
wow.
4 years. 4 years, but who's going to help the guy? Right? I'm like, I'm sending him money through Walmart, and employees at Walmart are having to receive the money because he doesn't have an ID card to pick up the money. I'm calling Ohio to their court over there to pay tickets from 20 years ago because when he goes to the DMV, they're like, oh, you have unpaid tickets from so long ago because apparently AI is making all the state court stock. And so, I'm trying to pay his tickets. It's only $160, but I'm trying to call the court and I'm trying to get the ticket identifiers and get them paid so it can clear, so he can get an ID card, so I can buy him a bus ticket to get the heck out of Albuquerque because it's bad news bears for him there. It's like, this is our system. You've got cops breaking taillights on judges' cars because what that looked like to me was racial profiling. Okay. You've got defendants sitting in prison for 2 years, pretrial, talking to the attorney 1 or 2 times and never seeing any evidence against them. And the judge is unaware. How is this happening? You've got Earl, right? It happens left and right. Now, are bad people in jail? Absolutely. Like, we need the judicial system. Having gone in there, I'm the last person that says we need to open the doors and just, let everybody out. That's ridiculous. There's people in there who eat your face, right? But at the same time, you have a lot of the system that we've leaned too much on process and we've lost the humanity of it. It's really that simple, right? The pretrial detention. There are judicial districts in this country that do not grant bond or bail. They don't do it. Like, the only way you're getting bond or bail is if you have a very expensive attorney up front. It's like super common for people to sit in pretrial almost their entire sentence. And then they get a plea deal and take a plea deal and they're out 6 months later. But they basically burn the time up in pretrial. It's part of the game. Did you know that prosecutors and judges get bonuses based on man years that they sentence people to?
I have such a hard time understanding or believing that. I just can't.
I know. Until you walk it and see it, and actually interact with the people that are subject to all this, and you kind of lose that feeling of they're different or major criminal. You realize that good people get caught up making mistakes. And
Or it's kind of like a used car salesman getting commissions for doing sleazy shit,
Yeah, and that's, I mean, there's honor in being a judge, being a cop. These are important things. But at the same time,
But there should not be commissions involved.
No, we have to hold them to the highest standards. It is. It's almost unbelievable. It is unbelievable. It makes no sense to us how that works, but they do. They get performance bonuses, just like any company. They get performance bonuses. They get accolades. It's like a thing. Like, it's a thing. And there's more to it than that too. I mean, there's bonding and other things that's associated, and it's kind of irrelevant for this discussion. But my point in saying this is the system is not something that you can just blankly trust. So in all the discussions we've had, and we hear people constantly, we need to arrest all these people. We need to go do this. We need to go do that. Listen, if you get the process wrong when the stakes are this high, you're gonna end up regretting it, right? Because the shoe gets turned around. So it's important for the process to be right. It's important for everybody to live up to their highest ethical standards. So let's go talk about this Epstein thing. Let's jump into that. So Chris Cuomo, it's so funny when these guys become untethered from their big mainstream media outlets, how they start to like just immediately go conservative. Like, I don't know if I honestly wonder if they're playing to the audience or if they were just so in the bubble when they were in mainstream media. But here's Chris Cuomo talking about how the Democrats do not have the high ground on Epstein.
They had this information for a long time. I do not want to hear Bernie Sanders or AOC or Schumer or Jeffries or anybody on the left talking about Epstein, because they're only doing it for one reason. And it's not because of this righteousness of accountability for people who victimize kids. I give the MAGA folks who want disclosure that high ground. Okay? They had this information for a long time. I do not want to hear Bernie Sanders or AOC or Schumer or Jeffries or anybody on the left talking about Epstein, because they're only doing it for one reason. And it's not because of this righteousness of accountability for people who victimize kids. I give the MAGA folks who want disclosure that high ground. Okay? They had this information for...
The Democrats have had this information forever. They've been in charge of it, and all of a sudden now, like, it should be so obvious to us what's happening as far as the Epstein hoax. And Trump actually really spelled it out this week, where he's like, this is the Epstein hoax. They're doing the, selective leaking of files and all that kind of stuff in order to ruin lives, in order to delay, everything that's going on. This is Scott Adams. And I sped him up to 1.5 times because he talks so slow. But this is Scott Adams, the Dilbert cartoonist who has a pretty successful morning podcast, competes with ours. He starts a little later than ours though, so I know people tune into us first. But he's got cancer. I'm kind of hoping to take some of his audience at some point. I hope he appreciates the dark humor. I hope he appreciates.
I know. It's good. It's good.
Okay, so this is Scott Adams talking about how Obama has ruined his life. Except I have to share the screen first. So let's do that. Play the Scott Adams clip. Go. Oh, still.
How many of you found out that Obama's hoaxes, which would include the Russia hoax, and it would also include the Fine People hoax, because Obama was behind that and Biden ran for office. Those two hoaxes, I would argue, ruined my life. Let me say that again. Those two hoaxes, Russia, and the Fine People hoax, ruined my life. Because those are the hoaxes that allowed my entire social group to say, are you kidding me? You're backing Trump? Trump's a Russian puppet, and he said that neo-Nazis are fine people. So we can't even talk to you again. You're so bad that we can't invite you anywhere, we can't be your friend, and you should just fuck off. So this is very personal to me. What Obama did was he divided the country with these hoaxes. Because if you imagine a different history where there had never been a Russia hoax and there had never been a Fine People hoax, those were the two primary ways that people became anti-Trumpers, like really serious ones, where the TTS comes in. Now, I would also argue that it's possible that that's what ushered in all the woke stuff, is what got me canceled. So if you were to go back, trace the causes back to their origin, you would find out that Obama and Clinton and Brennan, et cetera, and their hoaxes ruined my life. Now, I didn't realize that until today because my natural personality is not to complain about shit. My natural personality is to say, oh, that happened. I guess I have to do this now. So I don't spend a ton of time whining about bad things that happen to me. I just sort of, get moving to fix it and make the best of every situation. But if you were to look at it objectively, those motherfuckers ruined my social life and then my professional life, and it was entirely based on 2 hoaxes. So do I want them in jail? Yes. Yes, I want Obama in jail for ruining my life with what looks like criminal acts to me. And, I don't know if the Fine People hoax was a criminal act, but it was definitely a conspiracy. They were all in on it, and they all knew the truth, and the news backed them up. So the news was, part of the bad guys. If you said there's a way to make some of the news hosts get handcuffed and taken to jail because they knew that they were supporting a lie, I'd be in favor of that. I don't think there's any law that would support that. But if there were, yeah, I think that some of the people who ruined my life and maybe a lot of your lives should go to jail. Absolutely. I just don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah.
When I listened to that, I was like, yeah, the Fine People hoax ruined my life too.
Yeah.
The way he assessed that is like, it divided the country. I literally couldn't go to social gatherings. I lost jobs. I was deplatformed all because of this chain of events following the Russia hoax. And here's the thing. I was thinking about this too. He's like, the TDS set in. So no matter what Trump did, it was bad. But also Trump's sycophantic syndrome set in too, where people became so on the side of Trump because they became anti the lying Russiagate hoaxers and anti the Fine People hoaxes, that they give Trump such a wide berth that now he's installing AI and tracking systems in the whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, there's no political debate because we're not talking about the issues, because we're talking about picadillos and we're talking about, scams and hoaxes, and we're not talking about actual function of government. Like, he ruined the world by doing this Fine People hoax, kicking it off from there, and then pushing the Russiagate thing. Because we're not having an intellectual debate. We're having defensive arguments trying to defend whether Trump is in the right or wrong, and people get into each side, So we're not critical of our own side because we're not looking at ourselves, because the Democrats are in such the wrong. The Democrats are looking at us. They're not being critical of the fact that they've gone totally Marxist and way overboard. And they're telling people to put masks on, right? For their kids to put masks on for their sporting events. They can't see any of this because as long as it's Trump bad, then it's masks and jabs and lockdowns good. You know what
Commies.
I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. So it really did a perspective of, wow, this really ruins everything. Bye says, unfortunately, Trump Epstein versus Jane Doe's 1-4199 thing is a real thing and really happened. FY, it was even a national and TV newsprint and radio in 1993. Keep ejecting Jewish puppets is what we get. Yeah, I mean, go full Kanye West on us here. Okay, so speaking of the Trump accusations, this is the problem with the Trump accusations. There are real cases. There are real accusations. I doubt there's a billionaire out there that hasn't sued for one thing or another. I mean, it seems to be a common thing. This is Raggedy Ann. What was her name? Jen Psaki. She had on one of Trump's Epstein victims on the news. So when you talk about micro expressions and stuff, I want you to look at the micro expressions. It's this woman's face. So this woman apparently worked for Jeffrey Epstein as his assistant, and she saw some interaction between Trump and Epstein. Okay. So her name is Maria Farmer. People could probably look her up, but just look at her facial expressions. And when she makes the Trump connection, just look at how she does I'm lying, like I'm pulling one over you look.
Heard Jeffrey Epstein say to Donald Trump, she's not for you. What was your reaction to that? What was going on in your head at the time about that? What did you think that meant?
Right. Well, I already felt kind of intimidated because it was in a dark office and I was alone with my new boss, to be, and this man that's a powerful businessman. And so I felt intimidated, but that's not why I reported him. I reported him because when Epstein came out of the office, I was making a face at him because I felt threatened. And so I went, and he kind of laughed and backed off. And as that was happening, Epstein walked out and said, oh, no, she's not here for you. And he emphasized, she's not here for you. And he said, come with me. And he escorted him into another office. And I was like, who's in there? And when he said, oh, I thought she was 16, I thought, is there a 16-year-old in there? Right? So what people need to understand is I'm not some crazy person who just reports people if they look at my legs or I'm in an office with them. But when someone is hanging out with a convicted or a pedophile, and I discover that that pedophile has stolen my little sister, and then there's a powerful businessman that's making comments about me being my sister's age, then I think that the FBI needs to take a good look at it. And so that's why I asked that they do that. And as far as like the Republicans have really, really been kind of tormenting the victims. And so that's a separate topic. But
I feel like on the credibility scale, I put that pretty low.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, on the other side, there's also people like, he's a reptilian. And it's like, this is a lot of mess. It's like a lot of hot garbage. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So let's
I'm
just
not
go
sure what to do with her.
Yeah, and then here's the thing too. Again, we're getting into like territory where Obama, let's just blame it on Obama. He's ruined the world by dividing people. So here you've got Greg Kelly, which I have an interesting issue with Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly came out in great defense of the January 6ers. Great defense of us. And then he endorsed Ron DeSantis. Right? And it was like, okay. And like, there's just so many things about Greg Kelly that sometimes are a little bit weird, but he had Dershowitz on talking about Ghislaine Maxwell because yesterday Todd Blanche went from the Department of Justice. I think he's number 2 at the Department of Justice. He went to the prison where Ghislaine Maxwell is and interviewed her for 5 hours, and she answered every question and provided a ton of information. Remember, This is the first time she's been debriefed. This is the first time that anybody from the executive branch has actually tried to talk to her to get any information from her. So this is what Alan Dershowitz had to say about that. Nope. Hold on. Come on. What is in War Room? They talk to Denver. Come on, Denver. Let's get the clip played. And I'm going to throw in my Alex Jones voice for that. Okay.
Oh, remember this? Last year, President Trump last year in a courtroom, flanked by 2 great attorneys, Emil Bove on the left and on the right is Todd Blanche. Today, where are these guys? Well, President Trump is in the White House. That's pretty awesome. Emil Bove has just been nominated for a judgeship, federal judgeship. And Todd Blanche is the Deputy Attorney General, the number 2 ranking official in the Justice Department. And he's about to meet with Jeffrey Epstein's ex-girlfriend in prison, Ghislaine Maxwell, to find out what she knows. Let's find out. What is this all about? And she's also been subpoenaed by the Oversight Committee. I think this is great. I do have a feeling that she just might be a victim. She just might be. There was a rush to judgment. There was a lot of chaos there for a while. All right. Granted, she hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. And I know that's apparently not good. But she's in jail for how long now? 20 years. A 20-year sentence. Well, Alan Dershowitz is one of the greatest attorneys who ever lived. And he has this to say about the Ghislaine Maxwell situation, speaking with Newsmax veteran Eric Bolling.
Should Ghislaine Maxwell be behind bars?
She shouldn't be, but she is. She is really serving Jeffrey Epstein's sentence after he committed suicide. There was no one else to prosecute because there was no real information against anybody else. And so they went after her and they sentenced her to a sentence that would have been appropriate for Epstein, but not at all appropriate for her. And so she's appealing now, and I hope the appeal will be granted. She deserves to be out.
She deserves to be out. And maybe she never deserved to be in there in the first place. Now, how could you say such a thing? I mean, these are perverts. These are child molesters. We've heard that from whom? From the media? From prosecutors? Prosecutors prosecuted President Trump over nothing. I don't know, but I'm skeptical of everything and everybody these days, and you should be too.
And that's the key. Skeptical of everything and everything these days. I have zero compunction that Ghislaine Maxwell is somehow innocent and never was involved in any of it. I think from everything I saw, they proved that she trafficked at least somebody to somebody, being Jeffrey, and that's enough. That's all it takes, right? How much more to the story is, that's, I think, where we don't know. Do I think she doesn't deserve to be in jail? That's Dershowitz being very generous as a defense attorney there, in my opinion. She's been convicted. But there is a lot of truth to that. They had zero interest in Ghislaine Maxwell until Epstein killed himself. and then they came after him. So he's right to say she's serving his sentence. Does she deserve it? I think so. Okay. But we'll find out what kind of information she has. One of the things that Jessica Watkins, the January 6er, who was in prison with her in the same dorm block, and she said that Ghislaine Maxwell told her, and remember, no one ever talked to Ghislaine Maxwell, like from the executive branch, but she says, all I ever hear about is questions about Trump and Epstein. But what people should be asking, and this is what Jessica Watkins quoted, was people should be asking about Epstein and Clinton. Okay. So it's another one of these projection factors. There's probably something to that. Wouldn't that be like the biggest twist of fate if all of a sudden they come out and they're like, oh, now we have actual evidence and a witness against Clinton? Like in all of this? Wouldn't that be like the ultimate backfire for the Democrats?
That would be.
Release the information! Release the information!
Yeah, when you said that, that actually changed everything that I was thinking about, like instantly, like blam. Yeah, that would change things.
It's like a total script flip. You know, the Democrats were silent forever because they knew the connection was with Clinton. And then they buried all the evidence that might have been in there and inserted some junky stuff with Trump and emphasized the flight logs or whatever, you know, which is very ambiguous. Just, again, it's the guilty by association. You know what a lot of Proud Boys started thinking when the FBI starts going, well, you're in this chat. You're in this chat where these treasonous, seditionous things are being said. And you're like, I thought I was just, you know, don't tread on me. And I like to shoot guns on the weekend. You know what I'm saying? Like you're not.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Yeah. Like I caught a free ride on a private jet. I was so excited. Or RFK. Well, we went to look for dinosaur fossils in South Dakota. You know, it's like some of this is just, it's Epstein creating his Rolodex of connections. It's not every person Epstein talked to was involved in this thing, you know, and that's the problem. After he was convicted, it probably was not smart for some of those people to hang around him, but he's given away millions of dollars. Like it's a weird deal. I have a story. I found out well after I was a business partner with someone. I knew he was a felon. I knew he'd been to prison and had gotten out, and he'd restarted his life and was in our industry. And we worked together like as co-business owners, you know, just inspections, designs, all that kind of stuff. And eventually we ended up actually like formalizing a business partnership. It lasted a very short period of time and it fell apart for other reasons. Not a big deal. Okay. It's just one of those things you kind of, hey, let's try a little merger. Merger didn't quite work out as well. Go our separate ways. Okay. I find out after the fact, he was in prison for child molesting. I had no idea. I had zero curiosity about why he'd been in trouble. I had no reason to suspect anything with this guy, right? And I was like, if someone came to me and they're like, well, you used to partner with this person, I'd be like, I had no idea. And for whatever reason, I had zero curiosity about it. It just never even in my mind. I just figured he like was a tax evader or something. I had no clue. He fit the profile of a tax evader more than he fit any other profile. So anyways, again, the guilty by association thing is something where we have to tread lightly. And when you're talking about Epstein and you're talking about charities and money and blah, 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 we have to tread lightly, right? It's one of those things where you start going, is everybody he ever talked to involved in that? No, probably not. The odds of that are almost nothing, right? But at the same time, it is worth looking into. So Politico is saying, and this is to me kind of a funny article, it says Political, POTUS is clearly furious. White House is frustrated by all consuming Epstein coverage. And it is frustrating, man. Dude, they vented our gas cans today. Like the most amazing thing ever happened. There are blue collar guys all around the country. Shockwaves are going through the community. There are project managers and foremen that are yelling at their guys say to gather up the gas cans, gathering up. We're going to burn them in a barrel and go get new ones with vents, right? It's one of the most liberating moments for the American worker, the venting of the gas can. And yet the White House is stuck talking about Jeffrey Epstein. So apparently Politico says Trump is fuming about this. Now, I want to point some things out in this article. I want to help you guys read the rags that are out there. All right. I'm going to read this article and tell me who said what. President Donald Trump is angry. His team exasperated. The Republican-controlled House is near rebellion. Ooh, the White House is gonna they're breaking up. Trump and his closest allies thought they'd spend the summer taking well-earned victory lap. Do you think they expected everything to go easy? Have
No.
Congress into passing a mega bill, bullied foreign governments into a slew of new trade arrangements. Notice the adjectives here: bullied, coaxed,
Is this the Atlantic?
convinced. No, this is Politico.
Okay.
Convinced NATO allies to spend billions more on collective defense and pressed world leaders to bow to various other demands from Doha to The Hague. Okay. So they've got their stuff going. Instead, questions surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, the disgraced financier. Notice how it's not like the pedophile, it's the disgraced financier. And disgraced, it's just, easy. Convicted sex offender who was found dead in his jail cell by suicide nearly 6 years ago are overshadowing almost everything else. POTUS is clearly furious, said a person close to the White House. A person close to the White House who, like others of this story, was granted anonymity to discuss the mood inside the West Wing. It's the first time I've seen them sort of paralyzed. What does it mean to be close to the White House? Could this be like a member of the press corps?
Yeah.
Making statements? Like, do you really think that, he feels there are way bigger stories that deserve attention, like
Is
the
this
gas
like
cans.
journalists making up stories just within their own little circle?
So that's what I'm pointing out. That's why I'm going through the process of reading this. This is why back in 2016, I deleted the CNN app off my phone, because one day I'm reading through the news and there wasn't one single citation. There wasn't one single someone said. It was anonymous sourcing with the most salacious of allegations. Every single article that day, I went through and checked because I was like, I can't believe this. I've watched them go from news with maybe a bias to pure propaganda.
Yeah.
After the bond, and that's when I started taking very serious my need to read as much as I could, because you have to triangulate things. You have to start to read through the noise. After the Bondi release, voices on the MAGA right, from Steve Bannon to Laura Loomer, criticized Trump administration for the handling of the controversy, warming it threatened to consume his presidency. They gave him the ammunition that's being used by the anonymous reporting. Then last week, the Wall Street Journal published a story alleging Trump sent a lewd birthday message. The president has denied sending the letter and filed a defamation lawsuit against the paper. The frustration stems in part from an understanding that this is a vulnerability, and a White House ally, Trump, has famously had his finger on the pulse of the Republican base for more than a decade, but has, for now, lost the ability to dominate the narrative. That threatens to undermine the momentum and sense of invincibility the GOP felt at the beginning of the month, when they were getting ready to boast about a slew of new tax cuts and border funding as their opening pitch to voters at the 2016 midterms. Oh, so it's about the midterms. Many of these areas, this is a playbook, by the way. This is telling the Democrats, go down this path, right? We're getting ready for the 26th, focus on the Epstein and the chaos and the rebellion in the White House and the cover-up. Many of the areas are
division in the White House.
Huh?
And there's supposedly some seeds of division in the White House that we can use to play off of.
Many of these errors are enforced, resulting from hyped-up accusations from Bondi and FBI Director Kash Patel, which is fueling the indignation inside the White House. They're the ones that opened the can of worms on Epstein conversation. No one made them do this, which makes it sting even worse. The ally said. Who's the ally? I don't know. Could be ChatGPT for all we know. They hallucinate all the time. I mean, they could make up a staffer. Trump has tried to refocus the narrative, repeatedly touting the nation's economic strength and accusing former President Barack Obama of treason. On Tuesday, Trump announced that he called the biggest deal ever made with Japan and the United States' fifth largest trading partner in 2024. Trump also announced deals with the Philippines and Indonesia. When you're working 12 to 15 hours a day to solve real problems and you turn on TV and see people talking about Jeffrey Epstein, that's frustrating. That's where the people's mindset is, the senior White House official said. Because you should report on the good stuff that's happening. That seems probably was said by a senior White House official. Could have been Carolyn Leavitt that said that. Even as the president talks trade and treason, the Department of Justice is working to put Epstein inquiries to rest. Except they just went and met with Ghislaine Maxwell, petitioning the release of grand jury files. They did that, and potentially meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. Check. Epstein's co-conspirator, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence on child sex trafficking. Trump on Tuesday claims he didn't know what the Justice Department was doing. He probably doesn't micromanage it. This would they would like to move and talk about the things that they think are W's, said the White House ally. They're really annoyed that it's overshadowing the news cycle. There are plenty from sections of Trump's base who've long believed the government protects the rich, powerful people who participate in heinous crimes like Epstein's sexual abuse of underage girls, to Democrats gleefully seizing on the saga who continue to devour the coverage. And that's putting Republican leaders on the Hill in a bind as they balance their loyalty with the president against their own fears of the base turning on them. House Republicans canceled several votes this week as leadership struggled to contain the ire from lawmakers demanding the Justice Department release the files related to Epstein. The Rules Committee delayed meeting out of fear they'd be forced to vote on the Epstein files. House members are worried it's screwing up the schedule, said the person close to the White House. There have been points of significant pushback behind the scenes where the White House has rolled over, but now the Rules Committee rebelled against the speaker over something POTUS finds embarrassing. It's a big blank deal, and you're looking at a straight congressional rebellion. A White House rebellion, a Republican rebellion. This is a playbook. This is telling the Democrats, focus on Epstein because it's divisive. That's all it is. There's no news here. There's no news here. None. POTUS is clearly furious. He said so. That's it. That's it. POTUS is mad about Epstein. Yeah, he's probably mad for a lot of reasons. There wasn't justice when it happened. There isn't justice now. The file's been manipulated. It sounds like a mess. Sounds like a freaking mess. Tim Burchart had this to say, and I agree with him on this. And I think that part of the reason he can say it
I would hope
is because I think he knows that, and this is hard to say, he knows it's not as big as has been projected. Yesterday in Alabama, there was an underground shelter that was uncovered, and they rescued 10 children from, I think there were 3 men who were torturing those children. And we're talking like the kind of thing that's in rated R horror movies, like Chainsaw Massacre type stuff, chained up, tied down, multiple people in and out, drugs. You can go look it up. I don't want to cover it. It's just the most heinous thing. That's just in Alabama, just like a normal thing. It's not an Epstein circle. It's probably more horrendous than anything Epstein ever did with his little massages and whatever. Right. But that's happening. Looking at Epstein and chasing elusive elite pedophiles around the world, and trust me, I've been guilty of putting too much focus on that in the past, is ignoring what's happening potentially really close to home, right? And it minimizes those victims because, well, I had this happen to me, but it wasn't some elite. You know what I'm saying? So this is Burkhart talking about what would happen if they really went after Epstein. And this is the reason why it's that pushback.
Well, I wrote Chairman Comer a letter a couple weeks ago, and in fact, we passed the resolution in the subcommittee of oversight and to get that subpoena, and Chairman Comer graciously agreed to follow through with it. Yeah, I would hope that we could get to the bottom of it. I want to know the money trail. I want to know who employed. Was Epstein a foreign agent? Who are his benefactors? I want to know the way that they access these children. I want to know names of the people that were involved. I don't care about people who flew on his dadgum plane. President Trump has stated multiple times he flew on his plane. As a matter of fact, he banned that dirtbag from Mar-a-Lago over 15 years ago. I'm tired of hearing people trying to pin Trump to it. Trump has been out front saying that he knew the guy, and he banned him from Mar-a-Lago. They knew each other. They ran in the same circles. It's just like me. I know a lot of dirtbags myself. But I would hope that we could follow the money trail and just see where it all leads. And hopefully in all this, and I warn people, we need to protect the name of the innocent. And they were children at the time that were raped, over 1,000 apparently. Yeah. And I've been told we could bring down governments and places all over the world. Well, if they're built on this, dadgummit, we ought to bring them down because they are, to me, they're doing business with the devil, and I'm sure Mr. Epstein's dealing with him right now.
So one of the big questions is, how much does Ghislaine Maxwell know? Constitutional law professor Alan Dershowitz believes that she holds the keys to the kingdom. Listen to what he said.
She is the Rosetta Stone. She knows everything. She arranged every single.
Yep, she's the Rosetta Stone.
Yep.
So remember, he just said, well, she doesn't deserve to be in prison, but she's the Rosetta Stone. Here's, again, my take on this. having done quite a few deep dives, having watched it intimately. Bye-bye, you've on here saying, yes, Ghislaine Maxwell's sisters work for the government, providing computers and software stuff for the government. They're a connected family, right? Robert Maxwell is the one who put a $2 million deposit into Bain Capital, Mitt Romney's venture capital firm. It was the original first investor. That was the episode that got us banned from Spotify, Ron. Where we connected the dots there. We were like, oh, Mitt Romney is going to vote against Trump for impeachment. Let's do a little deep dive. Okay, Bain Capital. Bain Capital's first investor was Robert Maxwell. What?
Yeah. Huh.
You know, like, ugh. Here's the thing.
Another Utah senator that you just like, what the frick?
What? Yeah. The connections are one thing on the perversion side. We don't have a lot of clarity into that. We don't. But the big thing, the reason Epstein gets covered up is Epstein goes all the way back to the Reagan administration with Iran-Contra. Epstein was the money man. He was the one who facilitated the movement of money. He was a money launderer for guns and drugs. Okay, and probably drugs. I don't know that drugs has been super associated, but money and guns. The perversion thing might just be his personal little problem. And I'm say that with all of the Q things that I've seen, with all of the rumors and all of the allegations and thousands of victims, and then it's tens of thousands of victims, and then it's 200 victims, and then it's turning into reptilians. With all of that, the only hard evidence we see of the Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm talking stuff that you look at and goes, that is the evidence, is they were picking up girls in Palm Beach, taking them to the different locations where they were grooming them, paying for them to become masseuses and go to beauty school. And in some cases, they had people, Ghislaine Maxwell was working with people that played the violin that were going to Juilliard. They were funding their whole education and apartment, everything, never touched them, never abused them, never did nothing. They did that stuff. They were out there giving and doing charity. And that's the problem. If you're giving money to this famous musician who's just a recipient, they're just getting a scholarship, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, what were you doing for Epstein? He was giving you money. There must have been an exchange. Maybe he was grooming me for something in the future, or maybe this is just how they sow goodwill and can create plausible deniability, or who knows? Maybe they're laundering money through the actual scholarship. You ever think about that? You ever think that they were paying for you to go to school so they could get it on the back end? Because clearly Epstein had an office up at Harvard. You don't think that they was sponsoring students there, just taking it on payment on the back end? This is a money laundering operation. Go watch the movie Ozarks and see how that kind of operates from the ground level up, right? And they start getting into politics. So that's why my perspective on Epstein is like, if you're hyper-focused on the perversion element of this, which is absolutely disgraceful, and if they're bartering and blackmail, I want to know everything. There's no desire, but why are we not also talking about the money?
Right, when that part is just a small slice of the pie.
Which might have been the bigger slice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what we still haven't resolved Iran-Contra. We still haven't resolved, like, he's going to the White House 27 times under the Clinton administration. Yes, I have questions about perversions because you've got two guys that have been, their whole lives have been mired in scandal. You know what I'm saying to that regard? So that's a bad combination right there. But as far as like Howard Lutnick living next door, I'm more concerned less about Howard Lutnick and young girls, and I'm more concerned about him moving money illegally. He's a money guy. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I am just, the Epstein thing as it currently stands when we're talking about perversion is a massive misdirect. Mm-hmm. I just don't see it as anything other than that. It's a misdirection play from looking where we really should be looking. And the fact that the Democrats are now in on it is like, duh.
Yeah. That confirms the misdirection.
That confirms the misdirection. So again, I have no doubt like that there's shady stuff and there's probably going to be some people slipping through the cracks. I have no doubt, but we're totally missing the fact that we just got vented gas cans, Ron. Like, let's count our wins. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Alina Abba over in New Jersey. She was appointed as the interim United States Attorney for New Jersey while she was being confirmed. Well, obviously she arrested the Democrat House of Representatives member for assault. And so she came back. And what happened was Hakeem Jeffries submitted a ethics complaint against her. And so her 120 days is up. Of course, the Senate is like nominating no one. They're approving no one. They're not nominating, but they're not approving anyone. And so her 120 days came up today. And so this last week, the judges in New Jersey have the right to basically, if there's no attorney appointed and the time runs up, they can appoint a new United States attorney. So the judges appointed the first assistant, who apparently is like a raging liberal. And so in a chess move, here's what they did. As soon as the judicial branch did that, the judges did that, Pam Bondi then fired the liberal. Okay, so they appointed her, immediately fired her, and then she appointed a U.S. Attorney Abba in that first position, which then put her up to it again. And now she's been converted from interim to acting United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. This gives her, I think, like 2 years on there. She won't be Senate now. But that was a total chess move. So U.S. Attorney Abba posted this: Donald J. Trump is the 47th president. Pam Bondi is Attorney General, and I am now the acting United States Attorney for the District of New Jersey. I don't cower to pressure. I don't answer to politics. This is a fight for justice, and I'm all in.
Right on.
I like to see the executive branch play their chess cards like that. I like to see it. I like to see it completely run through. That is a good exercise in our quote unquote democracy. And more than that, I'm glad that the Trump administration is not cowering and keeping her there. Okay. James Clapper. This clip came out and people started posting the guy that's most likely to flip. And remember, it's James Clapper that all along has been basically saying the quiet part out loud. We wouldn't have even done that review of the intelligence assessment if it was Barack Obama. He's the one who told us to do it, right? But there was Russian meddling, so it was a good thing. And now we know there wasn't Russian meddling, and it's like about that Obama telling you to do it thing. So James Clapper's being asked about his reaction to Trump and all of his accusations and what he's going to do about it. And let's just say he's lawyered up.
When the director says that she's referred these filings to the Justice Department for criminal investigation, tonight we're told they formed what is called a strike force. Do you have concerns that they will attempt to prosecute you?
Well, certainly I do. After 8.5 years of this, and I don't know of an intelligence product that was more scrutinized, more investigated than that product was by numerous people.
Everybody was criticizing it within the intelligence community. Nobody wanted to sign on to it. Everybody was telling us it was fake. I mean, this thing was highly scrutinized.
It's very disconcerting. It really is. And I take seriously when President of the United States accuses me of being a participant in a treasonous conspiracy, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, what's your reaction to that?
It's ridiculous. It just it is
his reaction.
So what will you do if they come after you? What is your plan?
Well, I'll lawyer up, I suppose. Already have.
You've already hired attorneys in anticipation that this Trump Justice Department could try to prosecute you.
We've had sort of perpetual attorneys since I left the government in 2017.
Former Director James Clapper, thank you for joining us tonight to respond to
Thanks,
this.
Caitlin, for having me.
Appreciate your time.
Is that what it takes to run the country? You just got to lawyer up continuously?
Just lawyer up continuously? Why'd you have to lawyer up right when you got out? Because we're actively avoiding litigation. No discovery.
Continuously.
Yeah. So Devin Nunes, he was on John Solomon's Just the News. And you got to recognize, John Solomon's Just the News didn't even exist 4 years ago. He was a writer for, it wasn't Washington Post, but, he was a writer for one of these newspapers, and they fired him for reporting on this Russiagate stuff. Like, straight up fired him for reporting on it. And so he started his own little network and really clawed it from the ground up, and now it's become a significant player. But same thing with, so many of these people who covered this had their lives and their careers destroyed, and they were right.
Right.
Okay, so Devin Nunes.
Well, and while you're pulling that up, I'll just say that, we'd be in the same position that a lot of those people are if you hadn't been, sidelined and put in jail.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our show, even now, I think today's like 120 episodes, right?
Yeah.
We were at, I don't remember what, 200 something. I mean, and we were growing. Like, I mean, I started out audio, you came in, we added the video, and we were exclusively on Rumble. We weren't even touching YouTube. We weren't even trying. And we had a pretty decent audience, right? And 4 years compound interest every day doing this show. Yeah, we would be in a completely different position. So Obama ruined my
instead
life.
we basically started over from scratch.
Basically, we started over from scratch. Exactly. A little bit wiser, a little bit better at it. And, now I know half the people we're reporting on. I've met some of them, or I'm like one step away. So this is Devin Nunes talking about, and they posed the question, why did they really do the raid on Mar-a-Lago?
The raid on Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
So this continues. Same people doing the same nonsense, continue this hoax, and raid Mar-a-Lago, which I believe we need to see what were they actually looking for when they went to Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
I think that's an important key, and that the statute of limitations has not run out on.
And maybe, just maybe, it was Russia collusion evidence.
My guess is that it was.
That's my guess too.
That's a guess.
Yeah, no,
we don't know.
Yep.
But all related, all the same people. They raid Mar-a-Lago, unprecedented on the home of a former president at the time. They raid Mar-a-Lago, same people, same hoaxes, same everything, but with the power of the Justice Department, with a fake special counsel, this guy Jack Smith.
Yep.
It
would tie it all together.
So there's all of that that needs to be looked at, and hopefully justice will prevail.
So I find it rich that Republicans are buying into the Epstein clamor for resolution and not looking at something like this Russiagate thing where they raided a president's house and probably to look for the incriminating evidence and, to solidify the cover up. If we're going to put all of our energy into one thing.
But wouldn't it be evidence that
the
they
dead
knew
guy
wasn't
that won't
there?
die? Huh?
Wouldn't it be evidence that they would be looking for that they knew wasn't there?
No, Trump declassified it and took it with him. He took the Russiagate docs with him.
Okay.
That was what made that so scandalous. Was it's like you know that he can have all these docs. He can have all the classified docs he wants. He doesn't even have to say this is declassified. His very act of displaying it to someone declassifies it. Like there's no standard for what it takes to declassify something as a president. You are the sole holder of the authority of classification. There's no way the president can present a document to you, and by virtue of presenting it to you, he has granted you a clearance to read whatever he handed you. Like there's no way he can be in violation of any of those laws. So the mere premise, like this is where it's crazy when Republicans even give an inch on this. Oh, well, you can't disclose that. The president's not bound by that. He holds the exclusive classification authority. He doesn't even have to say this is declassified. Just by showing it and presenting it and having it, it's by virtue he gets whatever he wants. And this was confirmed by the Supreme Court when Clinton had the sock drawer case, where he was keeping classified materials in the sock drawer. And they said he can do whatever he wants with it. Okay. So the fact that they raided his house under the guise of looking for classified materials, what they were really looking for is the docs, probably some of the same docs Tulsi Gabbard just released that they were holding on to because they're that damning. Yeah.
So they were just trying to recover documents that would incriminate them.
Yes, because here's the thing. The documents that we have now seen run in direct contradiction to things like this that Adam Schiff tried to confirm in that he had actually seen the official evidence.
You're on the Intel Committee. Let me just ask you one final question. Can you look right into the camera and say, I know for a fact the government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of John Podesta's email?
Absolutely. The government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of our institution and the dumping of information.
Of John Podesta's email.
Not only in the United States, but also in Europe.
Okay, you're not, you know what, you're dodging.
And Tucker,
look and say, I know they did. John Podesta's emails, they hacked those.
And I think that Ronald Reagan will be rolling over his grave at you're carrying water for the Kremlin.
I'm not carrying water for the you're making, look, you're a sitting member of Congress on the Intel Committee, and you can't say they hacked.
You're gonna have to move your show to RT Russian television because
you know what?
This
That's
is
so beneath your office because it's so dumb and you're being duplicitous. I'm asking you, did they hack Podesta's emails? And you can't say it.
Personal insults like that, Tucker.
You just said I was carrying. He said I'm carrying water for Putin. That's pretty hilarious.
You know, when you essentially are an apologist for the Kremlin, that's what you're doing.
I'm an apologist. One last time, Congressman, look into the camera and say they hacked John Podesta's emails. We know for a fact that Putin's government did that. You can't, and you know you can't, and you're hiding behind weasel words.
I just said that
say they hacked John Podesta's emails.
Russians. I'm not going to be specific as.
Oh, because you don't know it. That's why. All right, done. One. You don't know it, and you're alleging it without any evidence. And
you're ignoring the evidence because you don't care. The fact that it helped the Republican candidate is all you need to know.
That's totally false. I just think if you're going to make a serious allegation about an actual country with an actual government, you ought to know what you're talking about, and you don't.
I think that you ought to accept.
I got to go. I'm taking cash from Putin now. I'm on RT.
Republicans on the Intelligence Committee have seen for a fact.
You know that.
If you're willing to be in denial about this because it suits a Republican-elected president.
Okay, whatever. You can blather on all you want, man, but I gave you a chance to state it clearly, and you wouldn't, which tells you everything you know. All right.
Or a president. Not very much.
I appreciate that, Congressman. Now I need to take a call.
Let it play on.
So I'm going to put you on hold for 1 second. Some of the electors who will pick the president in 2 weeks are.
Dude. They hacked our institution. You mean the DNC, the Podesta emails, our institution and our democracy? Like, they got on air and they tried to insinuate that he had seen the evidence, that he was absolutely certain about it, right? But yet, to those of us that were discerning, we're looking at that going, if he'd actually seen it, he would have said it, but he's kind of dancing around it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the media would just have, MSNBC would have him on and, have you seen evidence that the Russians hacked our elections? And he'd be like, I have seen the evidence that Russia was involved in influencing the election. You know, it's like he answers the question without answering the question, but he confirms the question. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a skilled attorney. He's a skilled tactician here. This is what I've been seeing all these years. And I think a lot of people, especially that listen to this show, probably were aware of, but you know, these scandals ruined our lives. They ruined our lives.
For real.
Yeah. Okay. Hans Mankey said this. So there's a call right now from Senator Lindsey Graham. And this is a bunch of Republicans who are now jumping on this. For the good of the country, Senator John Cornyn and I urge Attorney General Bondi to appoint a special counsel to investigate the extent to which former President Barack Obama and his staff and administration officials manipulated the U.S. national security apparatus for a political outcome. Okay. So Hans Mackey says this: every single special counsel has served only one purpose, which is to stymie real investigations and run out the clock. The fact that Lindsey Graham and John Cornyn are now calling for one only drives the point home. Unless it's Ed Martin, better not have one at all.
Yeah.
So Lindsey Graham, this is...
Or we'll just be sitting around for 5 years and waiting for some report to come out that never comes. And then when it does come,
I
it'll
am
be
100% opposed to a special counsel for this.
Yeah, forget it.
The last couple special counsels we had, this is how Sidney Graham during this time was the only Republican with subpoena power while these special counsels were going on. Listen to Maria Bartiromo's interaction with him with regards to those special counsels and, you know, getting some information out of them.
On this, you know, Russia collusion witch hunt, which was ridiculous. And you told me repeatedly over the last couple of years, as I continued to bring this evidence forth, in February of 2019, you said, I'm going to subpoena Rosenstein, Yates, Strzok, Comey. In July of 19, you said, I'm vowing to do a deep dive. In August 19, you said, we will make sure this never happens again. September 22nd, 2019, you came on this show, you said, we're ready to start calling people. October 29, I'm going to call Horowitz and subpoena. November 19, I'm going to call Horowitz after the findings. You are the only one with subpoena power right now in the Republican Party. On this, you know, Russia collusion witch hunt, which was...
Yeah.
Nothing.
What happened? You were going to call so many people. What happened?
Nothing. They never called anybody. Like, this was, dude, the whole Mueller investigation, got to let Mueller do his job, got to let Durham do his job, delay, run out the clock. Huber, same thing, run out the clock. Okay, here's a little report that's pretty, you know, nothing.
Lame.
Totally a mess. Steve Bannon says this. Come on, Denver, hurry up. Let's get the show going. All right, here we go.
Cabe. Yes, we're very worried if Trump wins because of what Trump is saying about investigations and about this treasonous conspiracy. Folks, that was 8 June of 2024. And what did he talk about? We're already in discussions about leaving the country if Trump wins. Okay. The second one, Clapper, was, wait for it, last night, where he says, hey, I've lawyered up. These brothers know we're coming. This is why I'm banging behind the scenes. I'm saying, go grab their passports now. The FBI should go to Obama, Hillary Clinton, all of them. Take their passports. You're going to see these rats heading down a rat line. You heard McCabe. That is from over a year ago, when President Trump was just talking about it in interviews or going buck wild at these rallies and people digging it, saying we got to do this. Well, now we're doing it. And John Solomon said yesterday, hey, if this thing's real, the next phase you'll see in the development is a federal strike force to bring together the best to actually hone this down and get real about what crimes were really committed, what's the information we've got, and how people are going to be charged. And last night it was announced.
Yeah, we need a strike force, not a special counsel.
Yeah.
I actually am in a position of trusting them. I think that they're going to do the right thing. I think they're going to gather up the people that are most important. I think it's going to work out. I've gotten to that point. I'm happy with Pam Bondi. She's doing what she's got to do. Sure, the Epstein rollout wasn't great, phase 1, phase 2, but they're also claiming we're playing 3D chess. There's always the possibility, again, you got to create the attention. You got to get the Democrats calling for it, because once the Democrats are calling for it, just imagine when they're like, oh, Ghislaine Maxwell had a lot to say. Let's go ahead and release that. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it could completely backfire on them. But this is politics as usual, as Vince McMahon used to say. So I don't know how it's going to go. We are going to have to sit back and watch. All right. We're going to jump over to Rumble Premium to private, and we're going to talk about Alligator Alcatraz, and then we're going to touch on Trump's visit to the Federal Reserve yesterday. That was kind of fun. So we're going to jump over to private. Please join us over there if you can. If not, you're not missing much. I mean, it's just a couple minutes over there, but we're trying to get our 5 hours of premium streaming in. I've been doing like pre-show stream. I did that today, Ron. Got 20 minutes down, just prepping. Sitting in silence. Clickety clack, click, click, click. So anyways, don't worry about watching the stuff, guys. I'm just trying to clip it in. And of course, we do need listeners. So if you're listening on YouTube or listening after the fact, please consider getting a Rumble login so that you can come into Rumble and chat during the live show. I need 2 more between now and the end of the month. Doesn't seem like a lot, but apparently we've maxed out our live listeners. So, all right, guys, we'll talk to you again later. Don't forget to visit leftbehindandwithout.org. And of course, 1776live.us. All right. We'll talk to you guys on the other side in just a moment.